Hello, I'm Matthew Cory, Principal, Planner, Land Economist, and Project Manager with Malone Parsons. On May 2nd, the Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, introduced More Homes, More Choice, Ontario's Housing Supply Action Plan. On the same day, the Ministry released A Place to Grow, which introduced changes to the growth plan that are complementary to the Housing Supply Action Plan and Bill 108. Build and the OHBA have produced a series of short videos to help the industry understand the impacts of the proposed changes on the market, practices, and businesses. This video will focus specifically on the new growth plan. The changes to the growth plan are extensive, and while they might not have gone as far as the industry wanted, they do represent a significant improvement from both the 2006 growth plan and the 2017 growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. Today, I will focus on some of the high-level changes and then take some time to outline a few of the next steps from a government perspective. Let's start with the employment areas. The change will provide municipalities a one-time window to convert areas of land for employment uses between May 16, 2019 and their next municipal comprehensive review, subject to criteria, including maintaining a significant number of jobs on those lands, except for those areas within a provincially significant employment zone. The province has identified 29 provincially significant employment zones that are deemed significant to the provincial economy and that would require provincial input and approval for conversion. In addition, changes will identify provincially significant employment zones where land in employment areas can only be converted through a municipal comprehensive review that is approved by the minister. Other amendments to the plan provide direction on buffering around industrial manufacturing uses within employment areas and give flexibility to municipalities to set density targets for each employment area and remove the requirement for an employment strategy. The changes to the growth plan have significant impact to intensification targets and designated greenfield area density targets. They create two groupings of minimum intensification targets, percent of units in already built-up areas, as listed on the screen, with Group A having a target of 50% and Group B being required to maintain or improve on existing targets in official plans. They also establish two groupings of minimum designated greenfield area density targets, residents and jobs per hectare, as listed on the screen. Group A having a minimum density of 50 people and jobs per hectare, and Group B 40. In addition, the new changes allow municipalities to request alternative targets and simplify the alternative target decision-making process. For intensification, the revised growth plan once again generally directs intensification throughout the delineated built-up boundary, the built-up area. This will allow generally for the realization of gentle density and may facilitate the delivery of the missing middle once implemented in official plans. In addition, the province is placing a renewed focus on housing. It has added new policies that emphasize the need to project housing demand to meet the needs of current and future residents. This will require municipalities to identify housing units by type as a first step in the land needs assessment process required to be prepared to implement the growth plan and prior to settlement area boundary expansions. The updated growth plan will continue to emphasize transit supportive housing. Proposed changes will allow municipalities to delineate larger major transit station areas and set targets for them in advance of the municipal comprehensive reviews. Through the Protected Major Transit Station Area tool under the Planning Act that simplify the process and criteria for alternative targets. MTSAs are generally to be delineated within 400 to 800 meters, which represents a 10-minute walking distance from the major transit station areas or stop. A revised growth plan will allow for modest expansions of the settlement boundary and adjustments outside of the MCR and will allow for a more outcome-focused approach to boundary expansions that may reduce duplications of studies and red tape. Lastly, changes specify that outside of the Greenbelt, the provincial mapping of the agricultural land base and the natural heritage system for the growth plan do not apply until implemented in upper or single-tier official plans. It further provides that before provincial mapping is implemented in official plans, the growth plan policies for the agricultural system and the natural heritage system will apply to municipal mapping. And changes allow municipalities to refine and implement provincial mapping in advance of the municipal comprehensive review. There are a number of next steps for the government to provide implementation tools and technical guidance to the changes to the growth plan. Immediately, the province is likely imminently releasing technical backgrounders that clarify the intent and interpretation of various policies in the plan. In the short term, the province will update the land needs assessment methodology, notably to address the calculation of demand to meet the projected needs of current and future residents and to reflect the simplified calculation of intensification and greenfield density targets. The province will also commence consideration of the 700+ requests for adjustments to the provincially significant employment zones and will be establishing a request for reconsideration process for making changes to the zones and will be initiating a consultation process on the long-term economic development function of these zones over the summer of 2019. In the midterm, the province will undertake and update the built boundary, refining the boundary to reflect corrections and potentially adding lands that have been built since 2006. The province will also review the methodology for the forecast contained in Schedule 3. This is required every 5 years and will address changing demographic factors such as increased immigration and changing persons per unit assumptions. This may result in revised numbers to 2041 and eventually the extension of the forecast in the plan beyond 2041. The new growth plan took effect on May 16th. As the government turns its attention to the supporting technical guidance and any next steps, Build, OHBA, and of course MGP will continue to keep the industry informed of developments. On behalf of OHBA and Build, thank you for being a member and thank you for your support. If you are interested in learning more or have questions, please contact Paula Tenuta at ptenuta@buildgta.ca or me at mcory@mgp.ca.